April was a crazy month. Started out with Easter. We had an opportunity to preach at an orphanage, preach at a school, and we're now back in the States. There's a lot to go over. Stay tuned. I'm excited to share with you guys what the Lord has done with our family. April was an action-packed month. It started out with Easter, where we had a full house in church, and we had a lot of visitors as well, including one visitor. His name was David. He brought his girlfriend Sole and his son, and they came to church. They were enjoying the service. You could tell he was there back there taking notes and all sorts of stuff. I was like, okay. Well, after the service, as my custom is, I go up to the people and I try to talk to them about their salvation. And I'm starting to have a conversation with him. And as we're talking, he says, before I get to salvation, he's like, hey, Ricky, can I talk to you for a second? I'm like, sure, yeah. So we go outside and he said, I grew up in a Christian home. I was saved as a kid. And he had the right salvation and everything too. I asked him questions and he was really saved. But he said, when I turned 19, I just really went away from God. I didn't do anything for God. I didn't live the life I should have. And he called himself the prodigal son. And anyway, but he said at the end of it, he said, when we sang a song, we did this time where everybody kind of chose their own songs. And we sang When the Roll is Called Up Yonder, or in Spanish, it's Cuando ya se pase lista. But while we were singing the song, he said, I started tearing up because I thought when the roll is called up yonder, I'm going to go to heaven, but my girlfriend and my son wouldn't. And he started crying. And it was really emotional, and I was trying to be there for him. He said, please pray for their salvation. I said, hey, I'll do you one better. Let's talk to them. They were there, but they were already in the car. They were ready to go. So I said, hey, what if we came over to your house sometime this week? And so that's what we did. We went over to their house, and I was able to give Sole, his girlfriend, the gospel, and just kind of encouraged him and said, hey, these are some things that you could start doing, steps that you could take. And he left. He was there our last service, and so it was just really a blessing to get to see that the Lord was working in those details there. Our last week there was very busy, very, very busy. Our sending church from Florida came. It was really cool. We got to do a lot. And I wanted to make sure I packed out that week for our team. And then for me as well, I wanted to make the most of our last couple of days there. And so during that week that we got to go soul winning. We got to help out a pastor from Mexico. We got to go soul winning around his church and got to see a lot of people get saved that day. But we got to do two things that were really cool. One, we got to go to an orphanage, which to me was a huge blessing because never went to an orphanage, but I was in foster homes and I had my own life that I kind of lived. I went to a lot of hospitals where I was like away from my mom. And so I understand a lot of them and their situation. The sad part was too, is that a lot of them had been abused. And so there were a lot of things that I could connect with them with. And I wanted to try to share that with them. And so we preached the gospel to them, really emphasizing the idea of becoming a child of God. And so we talked about becoming a child of God, that it's by faith, it's by grace. And, we didn't count how many people ended up accepting, because it's really, when you're in a group, you just kind of let the seed fall where it is. And it's hard to count. Like you could say, hey, who prayed that? And then everybody's like looking around like, oh, my friend prayed, so I'll raise my hand. So we didn't really do that, but we did preach to 40 kids, and who knows how many of them ended up getting saved. And so that was just a huge cherry on top to the week that we had. Along with, we also got to go to a school that we've gone to the last couple of years. There weren't as many kids as there have been in the past, but we got to preach the gospel in 3 different classrooms. And again, same thing, it's hard to tell how many of the kids ended up getting saved, but we preached to 70 plus kids. And so even if, 10% of them ended up getting saved, that's a huge blessing. But I know in my classroom, there was a lot of people that were praying. Obviously, like I said, it's the hearts, but the Lord was working in that school and in that orphanage and so it was just a huge blessing getting to do those things. Lauren, by the end of the week, was able to lead her first soul to the Lord in Spanish. And so we had been going soul winning together for the last year, but because I'm just, I'm the one talking, she didn't really have a need to go out there and actually do anything, say anything. But this week, that week when they were there, she had a group of ladies from our sending church, and none of them spoke a lick of Spanish. So she had to be the one to speak. She had to be the one to explain it. That was really cool, getting to hear that she got to lead her first soul to the Lord in the Spanish language. It just kind of shows that the work that we were putting in is paying off. But our first Sunday, I reserved it especially for our sending church. We had our morning service, our morning Spanish service, and then our morning service. After the morning service, we have lunch, we have soul winning class, and then we all go out and we go soul winning and then come back for the evening service. But while we were out soul winning, I got to meet a man named Sean. We knocked a lot of doors in an apartment complex, door after door after door, and really nobody was interested. And then we came across Sean. And Sean was very thoughtful. He wanted to prove everything, which was kind of interesting. And but anyway, as we were talking with him, he ended up getting saved at the end. And then not only that, then he followed us to church that evening. So it was just like, wow, the Lord was really working in that first Sunday back, just kind of showing us that the Lord is blessing the efforts that we put in. We've started visiting churches. We're now a couple days into May. I'm a little late making this video, but we've now visited about 4 churches, and we have a lot more lined up. And it's just amazing how the Lord continues to open doors for us. I think because our desire is to get back as fast as possible, and it's not just a desire, it's that we actually put that into action. I guess last year, for many of you who know our story, we came to the mission field after 3 months of deputation. And so this is really now almost, it's like a furlough, because we already have done the work. We've scouted out territory. We're going to go back and we're going to plant a church. And so now it's really interesting because we can present things from the perspective of someone who has already done it, not someone saying we will go. And I think for a lot of churches that we've met, I've met many churches that said, we supported this missionary for 3 years, and then he got to the field for 6 months, came back to the States for a year to have a baby, and then went back to the field for 6 months. And, and then they say, I supported him for 6-7 years, and then I only got a year and a half of them on the field. And I think obviously there are different circumstances, and, we're not here to, I'm not here to judge what other missionaries are doing, but one thing that I thought about was I want to make sure that the churches that support me know that we are doing our all to get on the field ASAP. And so we started booking churches back in January and December. So that way when we got back, we could just come straight in and just hit the ground running and keep pushing forward. And that was really our desire. And so even now, as we're going through that, it's crazy, it's hectic. We're going from church to church, but I know that the Lord is blessing what we're doing. We could just see it. We've already had another church take us on for support. And so as we kind of go throughout this little bit, I want to ask you guys to please be praying for us. Pray for Lauren, obviously, with the pregnancy, and that there would be no complications, that everything would go well as we start this deputation journey. But I will say for the next couple of months, at least, probably until we get back to Paraguay, I'm not going to be doing these monthly recap videos. I'll probably do a video if something crazy happens, if something awesome happens, maybe when we hit goals in our journey. But as far as like a monthly recap, it's going to be a lot of the same stuff, and it's going to kind of be boring for many people. It's just going to be, hey, we visited this church, this church, this church, and then our weekly soul winning, which I know is not boring and it's awesome, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that when you guys have these videos that you guys are getting the mission in Paraguay. And so I'm not going to be doing these for a while. But I thank you guys for your prayers, and I'm looking forward to giving you guys the little YouTube shorts and stuff like that. And so thank you guys so much. God bless.